Hi everybody, welcome, welcome. Come on into the studio. I am glad you are here with me tonight. Welcome, welcome. So come on in. I'm going to spend the first minute just doing a little technology check-in, make sure that you can see me, that you can see my grid paper here, that you can see my face inside the box, that you can hear me speaking. I've tried it before and something was always, I had a little hiccup each other time I've done this, so we're going to give it one more try tonight. I think it's going to be just fine. So if you could just, I put this note up here just in case you can't hear me, but if you could pop a note in the chat, let me know from where you are watching. That would be fantastic. Let me know if you can hear me. Let me know if you can't hear me. That would be great. Just pop something in the chat. Let me know you're here. Hi, everybody. Welcome, welcome. Come on in. We are going to have some fun tonight with our Stamping 101 class, the first of a new series I'm starting. I'm going to give it about another, 20 or 30 seconds just to make sure that everything is working. I hope it is. Looks like I'm public. Yeah. Let's hope. I am just going to step over here real quick and make sure that I am public here. Pop that open. Come on in, join us. Yep, it says I'm public, so I should be seeing you guys pop up into the chat any minute. All right. Well, I'm going to go ahead and start. Feel free if you have any questions at all, just pop them into the chat. Let's see, minimize that art, I think. All right, I can see Danette. Perfect. Thanks so much, Danette. I put a note here in case you couldn't hear me. So I'm glad that somebody is seeing this and popping in for my first YouTube Live. Welcome, welcome into the stamping studio. I know a couple other people. I can see that now people are catching me live. So here we go. All right, well, welcome into the stamp studio, everybody. I am Rosellen Eastman from My Stamping Friends, and I am here tonight with a new class, Stamping 101, Stamping Cards 101. If you want to do it for scrapbooking, that's totally fine. But just from the very beginner's point of view, because I realized when I was doing my videos on Facebook Lives that some people, I would realize I would just open an ink pad a certain way, or I would just pop my stamps onto the blocks and people wouldn't even know what I was talking about. So I think I wanted to include them too. So I am going to do a series of classes to bring people up to speed. So I hope it's not too slow for anybody. If it is, just let me know. There's other videos you can watch of mine that I've posted. So that's basically what this is. Welcome into the studio. Again, I'm Rosellen Eastman. I have been a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator for 14 years. I've been stamping for more than 15. Oh, hey, Kathy. Thanks for checking in. I appreciate it. Stamping for more than 15 years, demo for about 14 years. And I started this because some people I know just don't know where to start. And I don't want them to feel already left behind in a hobby that they will really like once they learn how to do it. So this is a video series for true beginners. I'm going to go over some very basic stuff. And I guess let's get started. At any point, just pop a question in the comments, and I'll do my best to pay attention to the comments and answer. All right, I'm going to turn on the light. I might get a little bright for you guys, so let's just see what happens. All right, maybe if I'm standing up, it's not so bad. Okay, welcome to Stamping 101. I am glad you guys are here. So tonight we are going to do so many things. We are going to learn how to stamp with some basics. What we are going to use tonight is this photopolymer stamp set and an ink pad, a basic dye black ink pad. So Okay, to start stamping your first card, I have seen a lot of videos where people are like, oh, you need this glass cutting mat, or oh, you need these special scissors, or you need the Big Shot, or a scan and cut machine, and you really don't need to invest in all of that just yet. If you are starting out, there are 3 things you need to stamp a card. You need cardstock, you need a stamp set, and you need ink. So really, that's it. There are other things you could have. I mean, a trimmer, a paper trimmer is fantastic, but you probably have scissors at home if you're just starting. Let's see what else. Scissors, we have some fantastic snips, but if you're just starting, there's other things I'd rather have you invest in, like dies and stamps. So let's start with, I'm going to grab a whole pack of white. So this is some Whisper White cardstock right there. First of all, let me just say, if you are not a subscriber to my channel just yet, you can hit subscribe right there. Make sure you also hit that notification bell, because that will let you know when I go live. And of course, you don't want to miss this, right? So hit subscribe, give me a thumbs up, and make sure you hit the notification bell. All right, so this is a piece of 8.5 by 11 cardstock. It's just a basic white cardstock. There are 2 ways you can cut it. We have a lot of different paper. We have 12 by 12, we have 8.5 by 11, we have 6 by 6 designer series paper, we have 12 by 12 designer series paper, which is just a patterned paper. Here's a sample of that, just some paper with patterns on 2 sides. All right, so they have them in a whole pack, and they're color coordinated. But for a very beginner, let's start with a piece of white. Now you can cut this in 2 different ways. You can cut it in half this way, or you can cut it in half this way. I'm going to show you how to do both. And this will make 2 cards. So if you take this 8.5 by 11 piece of paper, and you imagine the halfway point, 8.5 would be 4 1/4. So I'm going to put my cardstock corner right up here on this trimmer at 4 1/4. If you don't have a trimmer at home, you could use a ruler, a craft knife, a pair of scissors. For right now, you're fine. So this is a scoring blade, and I'm just going to lift this up. This is a cutting blade and a scoring blade. The light one gives it light pressure, doesn't cut all the way through. The dark one is a heavier, darker color, so it gives you heavy pressure. So that's how you know which one is which. If you can't remember that, what you can do is just take a Sharpie and write on there. So easy peasy. I'm going to take this at 4 1/4, and I am just going to press down to score it. And scoring means just putting a line in there where it can bend, it can fold the paper. Then I'm going to take this one, and I'm going to put it at 5 1/2, because that's half of 11. And I am going to move my score blade up to the top. There's a little place up here, a home base for one of these to wait while the other one is being used. So I'm going to put it at 5 1/2, and I'm going to slide this up. I don't know if you could hear that, but I just cut the paper in half. So now we've got 2 cards, right? Now I could cut it the other way as well. Let's give that a try, just so you can see what I mean, that there's 2 ways to cut it. So for this one, I'm going to put it at the 5 1/2 mark, and I'm going to score it this way. Right, so I'm just going to use that same motion. That puts the score line in. Then I'm going to slide it back in the trimmer, and this time is 4 1/4. And I'm going to cut it that way. So now that also makes a card. And these cards can go in any direction. You can make it this way or this way. And I'll show you some examples. Here are some examples. Okay, so when I said that you could fold the card anyway, they're all the same size. Let me move my trimmer out of the way. All these cards are the same size, right? But they open differently. So these cards were cut like that. And this card, well, let me get the other one. This one was cut like that. So this came from one size sheet, obviously 2 different colors. But see, I folded it and turned it that way. And I folded it and I left it upright. And then we have these 2, were in a series that I made. They were cut the long way. Right? So that's one piece of paper. One I folded and turned that way, and one I left that way. It really only matters once you start applying the sentiments or the designer series paper, which if it has a direction on it, that's how you want to know which direction you're going to be adhering that down. Okay, so we've gone over paper so far, and we're going to go over inks now. I'm not going to go into all of the different kinds of ink. Just know that this is a basic black dye-based ink, okay? And here is our stamp set. Okay, stamp sets come, well, in two different kinds now, but I'll go over a couple of them. This was an old stamp set that I have. It's a wood block. You used to get it. You'd have to take off the stickers and the foam rubber stamp, attach it to the wood, and you'd have this thick stamp set to hold on to. Then we moved into cling stamps, which are much thinner. It's a DVD size case, and these come like this. So they come in the sheet of rubber, but you will pop them out like that. They have a piece of paper on the back, so you would remove the paper, and you would stick these stickers onto the back. I'm not going to go into all of that today because right now we're just making a basic card. I just wanted you to see what it looks like. We will do that in one of these episodes. Tonight we're using the photopolymer stamp set. So that is a clear stamp set, completely clear. I hope you can see it. It comes on a clear sheet, and the images are on the front, so you can always see what it's about. But there are several sentiments and then some flowers, and you just peel these off. You stick them on a block. Here, let me get you a sample block, one that fits it. This is an acrylic block. You would just put this face down so the flat side is there. Press down to pick it up, and then you put it on your ink pad. So once you're done with it, you would wash it off, and you could put it back on here and pick up your next stamp. So you'd really only need a block that fits all of them when you're just starting out. I will tell you that we have 9 different size blocks, so you could get any size you want really in these blocks. There's some that are long blocks and smaller squares, so just pick the one that would fit most items in here. Like this would fit anything on here. And you can tell because on here they have the sizes. So it would say D. And in the catalog that we have, it will give you suggestions of which blocks to use. So you won't ever have to try and figure it out yourself. You're going to be fine. But I'm always here in case you have questions. Hey, Richard showed up a few minutes late, but he made it. Fantastic. Wait, says we made it. So Brianna is there as well. Yay, that's exciting. All right, so we are ready to start making our first card now. The stamps that I chose was, I didn't explain that this is 2-step stamping. The reason why I picked this actually is several reasons. There are sentiments, there are images. This is 2-step stamping, which means that there's a fine line image that you can use all by itself. If you wanted to, you could also ink up these fill images here and stamp on top of it. So you could have 2 different colors. So that's why they call it 2-step stamping. But you could just use the fine line images by itself. So this is a very versatile set. So I'm going to take any card. I'll take this card right here. Was one that we made. Now, we scored it first. That's just a suggestion. That doesn't mean that that's 100% where it's going to be. You're still going to fold this card, kind of pinch it there where you want it to be. Make sure your corners are lined up. I hold it down, and I'll either go with my finger, but do you see what happens when I flatten it out with my finger? The card kind of pops open. We have a bone folder tool that I like to just hold down. Use this on an angle to press that down. And now you can see that card doesn't pop up anymore, so it's nice and flat. By the way, all of these tools that I'm using tonight will be in the description of the video below once you pop it open. So if you have any questions on what the products were, you'll see them down there. All right, so I'm going to open up my ink pad. This ink pad is face up. So I just took the top off, put it to the side. This is the ink pad, and I want to make sure that ink on top is always fresh and wet. So when I put this cover on and I store this on my shelf, I store it upside down because I want that ink to always have gravity helping the ink to stay on the top of the pad. Our other ink pads, I'll show you in a moment, the way they close upside down, so you're going to store them right side right. Okay, so this is a plain piece of cardstock. You're going to make sure before you stamp on it that it opens up the proper way. Just do as I say because I have learned the hard way. So this stamp is not on the block straight, and I'm going to tell you why, because when I try and line things up, I'll do the same thing with sentiments. When I try and put it on the block straight, it's never going to be right, and when I go to stamp it, I'm looking at the top of the card or the side of the card and the side of the block, and the words aren't straight. If I put it on here a little crooked, I just use that and I stamp it down straight. So that's often why I will put something on there. So to ink up my flower image, I'm just going to tap, tap, tap. This image is larger than the ink pad, so if you want to, you can take this ink pad and turn it upside down and tap, tap, tap that way. There we go. Tap, tap, tap. Then I'm going to take this, and I just want this kind of down in the bottom. I think right about there is good. We're just going to make a nice, simple, beautiful card. We're going to lift it up. Now, see the flowers on there? The next thing I'm going to do is take a sentiment. And tonight I'm going to pick sending hugs, prayers, and lots of love. You see how it's on the block a little askew? All right, so tap, tap, tap. And I think I'll put it right here. And there you go. Your first card is made. I'm going to put that cover on because I don't want to accidentally move something and get ink on my hands, which I probably already did. Okay, so here's your first card, and it's already made. You sign. Make sure that when you give it to somebody, you write on the back, handmade by, because I love you. And this is a beautiful card. Now, if you wanted to hand it to somebody, you could leave it like that. If you wanted to lay it on somebody's desk at work, you leave it like that. If you wanted to write something and mail it, then we have envelopes that match these, this size card. There's a lot of stuff I'm going to mention at the end of this video about kits and stuff, but this video is presuming that you have cardstock. Oops, I just dropped my catalog. Cardstock, ink, and a stamp set. That's all you need to start. Okay. Now, if you have something and you want it to step it up a little bit, we can do that as well. Let's imagine that you start with the same size card. I'm just going to grab it in a different orientation now, so that's fine. I am going to still fold it on that score and make sure that it is nice and crisp on that fold. Now let's say you wanted to dress this up a little bit and you had one other piece of cardstock. So we can talk about layering. Just makes it a little bit more elegant, a little bit more finished. And when you're doing layering on cards, in the beginning, you can just kind of presume that all your layers are going to be 1/4 inch smaller. So a card base right here, like this, is 5.5 by 4 1/4. So your first layer is going to be 5 1/4 by 4, right? And we're just going to attach that onto there. Now this is presuming that you have some sort of adhesive. I like to use the Stampin' Seal Plus. It really holds very well. It's a strong adhesive. So I'm just going to take this piece, put some adhesive on the back. For this one, the adhesive is double-sided tape right there. I'm just going to press down and pull, and then just flick my wrist to get it to break. I don't know if you can see that there's all these little miniature lines on there, and that is like the snapping point when you're letting go. So I'm going to attach this to the front of the card. First thing I'm going to do is make sure my card's going in the right direction, and I'm going to just float it over. Sometimes people like to open up their card to make it lay flat, whichever you prefer. And I am just eyeballing, that's a technical term, the left side, the bottom, the right side, the top to make sure that it's centered. I'm just going to drop it down. I like where it is, so I'm going to press on it. And I can do that because there's no stamping on here right now. And it's a black piece. If I had black ink on my hand, it wouldn't be that bad. So the next layer, if I was going to keep going, the next layer up would be white. So since this one was 5 1/4 by 4, this one is 5 by 3 3/4. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to open up my ink pad, ink up my flower stamp the same way, down in the corner, and then I'm going to ink up the same sentiment and stick that in the bottom. There you go. Now, I did not tell you guys something, and these photopolymer stamp sets right here are completely see-through. Remember I spoke to you about these? These have a little bit of foam in between the rubber and the part that sticks, right? So we don't have that on the photopolymer stamps because we want to be able to see through it. But we do have, Stampin' Up! Does have a piece of foam that normally I will put under here just to give it a little give, because I can see that right here my stamp didn't ink up all the way. If I had that gray mat under there, it would have worked perfectly. But fear not, the card still looks amazing and nobody's going to look at it and say, oh my gosh, I can't believe that was almost perfect. However, if you don't like this, flip it over. Stampin' Up's cardstock is so wonderful that you can't see through it. So you could put another image right here. If you wanted to, you could take it and put the image on that side and the sentiment on that side. So whichever you would like to do is fine. I'll just show you what it looks like if you do that, because you can't really even tell. And I'm going to do it again without using the gray ink pad, the gray pad underneath the foam pad. See, that looks nice and crisp. My sentiment. Make sure you can read it right through there so you know you're not putting it upside down. Stamp on there. There we go. Close up my ink pad, of course. And just put some adhesive on here. Now I'm just going to, again, lay it down here. I'm not going to press really hard. I'm going to just center it as best I can and lay it down. And if I like it, I can tap it, or what I normally do is flip it over and press. So there's just a stepped up version. So your first card and your second card. What do you guys think? Pretty good? Very good tip. You messed up, just flip it over. It's exactly right, Richard. Really, you can't see through the card. So now I might not do it on something like this, because if somebody was looking, you know, you could see it. But since you're putting it down on a layer, nobody would see it. So you're fine. All right, next bit. Let's say that you have your paper trimmer, okay? And I'm going to make another card very similar to this, but I just want to step it up a little bit. I'm looking at the time, and I think we're doing okay on time. While I'm talking, though, feel free to share this video with your friends. Don't forget to subscribe, give me a thumbs up. I'd really appreciate that, because then Facebook knows that I'm doing a good job. And I mean YouTube. Oops. All right, so for this one, what I'm going to do is I am just going to put a little design on this card. This is the card piece it matched this. I had pre-cut some. So it's 5 by 3 3/4. What I'm going to do is just move it over to these lines right here. These are 1/4 inch marks. I'm going to move it over to the 1/4 inch mark, and I'm just going to score on that line. And then I'm going to do it one more time. So now it's at the 1/2 inch mark and score on that line. And I'm going to keep doing that at the 1/4 inch mark and the 1/2 inch mark for all the sides. And this is just going to put a beautiful little border around it. And it just makes it a little more crisp, a little more elegant. One, and my last one here. There we go. Now, if you had a scoring tool, you could do this. There's several different ways to do this, but with a trimmer that I've got right there, do you see how that just has a cool little border around it? It's a very simple, brand new stamper card making technique. I mean, anybody can do this, but a brand new person would really like that. So, same card. We're going to open up the ink pad, ink up that flower. Now this time, we are going to put the flower inside that score mark. Now, I don't know if you guys can see it, but I can see it. If you can't, let me show you why this is a good reason to have grid paper underneath. I know that the last line is 1/2 inch in, so I'm going to put this end of the cardstock 1/2 inch over this major measuring mark here, this big line right there. So now I know that that line, if I followed it all the way down, is where I need to stay to the left of that line. And I can see the bottom line right there, so. And I can also see through the block, but if for some reason you couldn't see it, you can just do that. All right, so here is our stamp right there. Oh, and let me get a different sentiment. I think I'll change up the sentiments. This one I will put, you are somebody who makes everybody feel like somebody. Tap, tap, tap. And I have a little more room up here because of the border down here. I don't have the room anymore, but I have room up here. So I am going to put it right there. I am just using the same stamp set for everything. Cover that up. And there you go. So we can make this into a card as well. Just take it over, flip it, put some adhesive on the back. Do you guys know that I do Facebook Lives as well? You can catch me on Facebook. I do Facebook Lives on Sunday nights at 7:30 Eastern and Wednesday nights at 7:30 Eastern. So I'm going to take, these are the papers we cut in the beginning. I'm just going to fold that in half. Make sure my corners are even. See, now this one just has a little bit of a bubble. I'm just going to take that from that suggested score mark. A little adhesive on the back. Make sure the card opens the right way. And put that down. So now it's getting a little bit more elegant, right? So now we've got 1, 2, 3 cards. And we're going to make one more. We are going to act as if you have one more color in your stash. Or that you've purchased one more color of ink pad and cardstock. I suggest that when you purchase something, a color or a cardstock, you get several items in that. So get the cardstock, get the stamping pad. Here, this is what we're going to use now. I've moved over to a Daffodil Delight ink pad. We have 50 colors plus black, white, and vanilla from Stampin' Up. And everything we do, one of the reasons why I fell in love with this company is because everything we have is color coordinated to match that. So if we have a ribbon, it matches exactly. If we have a, oh, I don't know, any kind of accessory, sequin, ribbons, buttons, clips, anything we have, rhinestones, will match these colors exactly. So how many people have gone to a craft store and said, oh, I have yellow paper and I want a yellow ribbon to match, but there's 700 different yellows. So with Stampin' Up, actually naming all of their colors, you can go and say, I need a Daffodil Delight ribbon, I need a Daffodil Delight ink pad, and a re-inker, right? So for this one, we are going to take the same piece of small cardstock. Whoop, I'm going to cut one more because I don't see it on there. That's okay. I will show you guys how to cut smaller pieces. All right. I know I can't fit the whole thing. Oh, that's going to see my light. So yeah, this would work. Okay. So for that smallest piece, don't forget it's 5 by 3 3/4. You don't need to write it down because you can just keep cutting it in half, cut the paper in half, and then 1/4 inch off each time. So I'm going to, this is the 11-inch side, so I'm going to cut it at 5 right there. And then I'm going to cut it at 3 3/4 right there. How's everybody doing? Are you still sticking with me? Have I lost anybody? I hope not. All right. So for this, let's do the same card. Well, similar card. We're going to ink up the flower. Let's put this one in the bottom corner again. You could actually make these and give them away as a set if you wanted. And we want to use a different sentiment in here. What else do I have? How about wishing you the best? Oop, I have that one out already. It's on my desk. All right, we're not going to do wishing you the best. We are going to do sending hugs, prayers, and lots of love. All right, ink that up, tap, tap, tap. And I think I'll put this one right about here. Remember, these are your cards when you're making them at home, so you can do whatever you'd like with your cards. All right, now in this stamp set, do you remember that I said it has a fine line stamp that you could color in if you wanted to? We have markers, we have stamping blends, which are alcohol markers, we have watercolor pencils. There's lots of different ways you can color these in. But there is also this fill stamp right here. So I already put it on a block. And if you look at it, you can see that it fits right inside that stamp. So I'm going to grab my classic stamping ink pad. Now, this is also a water-based dye ink, but remember I told you how they open differently? So it has a finger holds on the side, and there's a little lip right here, and they slide into a holder. That's why they have these little ridges on the side. So you're going to hold that, and you're going to press on those three little dots. And you're going to flip it over, and then slide it into lock. Okay, so now it won't move, it won't fall out. You don't have two pieces to try and find where the top is to go back on. But most importantly, this stores upside down. So gravity helps this ink pad stay wet. And when you flip it, the ink is at the top. So we're going to put that there. We're going to ink this up. And very carefully, we're going to just float this over. Now, I don't know if you guys can see, I'm trying to get my hands out of the way, but this is a fill stamp, and it's just a suggestion. It's not an exact fill of those flowers, but it's a suggestion like a watercolor. It'll be some outside the lines, some inside the lines. And I'm just going to leave that on there for a moment. Take that off, and see now the petals have turned yellow. Then what we're going to do, remember I said always buy things in groups, so an ink and a cardstock. So I've cut a piece of cardstock already. That's the same size as the black. It's that second layer. So we've got our base, we've got our next layer, which was 5 1/4 by 4, and then we've got our second layer, which is 5 by 3 3/4. Okay, so I'm just going to put the card together now. It's that simple. Remember to make sure you know how that card is opening to begin with. Float this right on top until you have it exactly where you want it to be, and then press it down. Same thing for this one. Get that little piece off of there. Float it on the top, making sure that all the borders of that Daffodil Delight paper are where you want them to be. Flip it over and rub on the back. Now, since these cards are white, we can write right on the inside of them. If you can do colored bases, which I have done in other cards, I've shown you before. So you would just put an insert in that card, but these you don't need to. So this is a really pretty pack of cards that you can send somebody as a gift to just show that you can make these cards, right? So this, did anybody have fun tonight besides me? Because I had some fun. All right, so let's see. What did I not mention that I wanted to? I talked about the stamping. I talked about how to ink, how to center them, how to layer them, how to do a design, how if you have more than one color. I think this is a really great way to start. So this is really just started with the very first card, which was stamps, ink, and paper. This was a little more paper, right? You added in one color of paper, and then you needed something to cut it with and some adhesive. So if there are 3 things you need, stamp, ink, paper. If you're going to get anything else, I would get a trimmer and adhesive, because you trim it, you're going to be trimming, and then you have that piece to stick down. I don't think you need these glass cutting mats right off the bat. There's a lot of other stuff that you can look at If you are going to ask any questions, just pop it in the comments over here. Let's see. Oh, very cute progression. You had fun. Oh, great. Thanks, Richard. So fun, great tips. I am glad you guys are enjoying this. We are going to move on each week, so make sure that you hit that subscribe button. Share the videos with your friends. That was a craft-tastrophe, as I would say. My trimmer just fell on the carpet. So share this with your friends and family. You never know when you have a crafter that you are going to want to chat with, and it's always fun to craft together. The other thing I wanted to say, if you don't have any of these supplies yet and you just want to start out, you can get a kit. We have several kits in our catalog, and I'll put some of the kits below in the description. And the other thing we have is what's called Paper Pumpkin. Let me grab one. So if I move these out of the way, you can see that Paper Pumpkin, let me put that light back on, is a kit, a subscription kit. It gets mailed to you. You can get just one, or you can get a subscription, which would be, it comes to you in the mail every month. And you can get the subscriptions in 3 months, 6 months, or 12 months. And this is a fantastic kit because it comes with literally everything you need. The first time you get one, you're going to get a block, and then it's going to fit every stamp they give you. Okay, so let me just show you. I unpacked it last night, but you're going to start with, on top, there's going to be a stamp set and a stamping spot, which is basically a 1x1 ink pad. So you'll have both of those, and this is all you need to create all these cards. There's a color picture of all the samples, and then there are directions on how to do these in 4 different languages, as well as photo directions, black and white photos. And on the back, it tells you all the colors you have, what else you can do with this month's kit, and everything that should be in your kit, as well as samples right up here. Okay, so then, whoops, this is a piece of cardboard, just to keep it all still. In this, you would also get all the envelopes you'd need. There are 3 different colors, I believe, so you'd get some with a yellow, some with a green, and then some with the pink color we have here. Labels that are not adhesive labels, they're cardstock labels, so you would just pop them out. You would stamp your sentiment or your image, whatever, on there, and then you'd attach it. And you're probably wondering how you'd attach it. However, they give you glue dots, so you don't even need an adhesive runner yet. They're going to give you some sequins and some twine, some baker's twine, to make all the bows that you want to make. There are card bases that are already scored, so you would just be folding those up, and the card bases are white on the inside, so you don't need anything to do anything for the inside. You can just write in there. And then there are some self-adhesive labels with some sentiments, so it would say thinking of you. It would also say it in a couple of other languages. So you get 4 of those, because there are 4 of those. 1, 2, 1 is stuck. I thought it was 4. 3 of those, let's see. Oh yeah, because you're making 3 cards that say thinking of you, so 3 of those. And then you would get these shiny doilies and dimensionals, which we also have, and I don't know how people live without these. They are double-sided foam tape in little hexagon squares. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Not hexagons. Septagons. Who's the... not hexagon. No, a hexagon. And then anyway, it also tells you what it coordinates with in our regular catalog, and it tells you a little thing you're going to get next month. It just gives you a little hint, but this is going to be, so next month is I think it's our 7th birthday for this. We've been doing this for 7 years. So they're giving you this as a little birthday gift from them to you. A sponge, and it will tell you how you can sponge the cards. So this is a kit that we have, and literally when you're done with this, you really shouldn't have any leftovers if you've made the cards how they tell you to, and you won't need to add anything else. You could if you wanted to, like if you didn't like that sentiment, for example, you could add something on. There's some vellum in here as well. I think it just got stuck. Oh, that's right. Here it is right here. There are the die cuts that are already images on there, and I know there are some vellum pieces because I saw them last night. Just thought they were so cute. Hold on, I really want to show them to you. I know they're in here somewhere. Oh, there they are. So these would go like on the front of a card, or not that card necessarily, but it could go on the front of that card. You could see through them, and there's these gold leaves on them. So anyway, I love the paper pumpkin kit. I get it every month, and there are other kits in the catalog. So tonight, our goal was to show you how you could stamp your first card. I think we have made that come true. We've hit our goal. And I hope you're going to join me for our next Stampin' 101 class. These are going to go live on YouTube every Sunday night at 8:30 Eastern Time. So until then, if you have any more questions, just pop something into the comment, send me an email. You can find all my contact information on my website right there. And if you're going to purchase something, go ahead and use that code, and you get a free tutorial bundle if you spend more than $35. If you need me to help you with your shopping list, I'm happy to do that. Just let me know. So until I see you guys again, thanks very much, and I will talk to you guys soon.